I will be doing a presentation about the training session outline that I just did for our class. Over here I have the whole outline of what I would like to do. Roughly it'll take about an hour and a half or so if all time is needed. First of all, I want to start with a lecture where we learn about what feedback is and how to give positive and negative feedback. This is all done in a PowerPoint that I have over here. This is just the beginning of it. What is feedback? Feedback is a person's performance of a task used towards improvement. Some people can take feedback positively and some can take it negatively. It's all up to you on how you take your feedback and what you do with it. What is feedback? Feedback can better a person's performance on a certain job or goal, or it can make them worse at what they do because they can take it in a bad way. You want to try to use feedback to push forward and make somebody perform better. Feedback can sometimes be a touchy subject because some people can take it bad or good, obviously. Most people want to hear only the good, but the bad feedback is what makes ourselves work towards our goals and makes us better at what we do. There are two types of feedback, which are positive feedback and negative feedback. Positive feedback is given when somebody does something good or has a good performance at one of their jobs. It is usually the easiest type of feedback to give because it's exciting and it's giving good information. Sometimes positive feedback is used before giving negative feedback. This is just a couple ways on how to give positive feedback. You always want to identify what you're giving. You want to know what you're telling the person. You want to address how it's going to impact you, the team, the company, and you want to offer encouragement for more behavior and good work. You always need to provide feedback positively and in the right time. Don't wait to give them feedback for a week after it happens. Do it right away. Always give feedback, but don't do it too often. Don't play favorites when you're giving feedback. Give feedback to everybody, because everybody likes to hear how they're doing at some point in time, because it pushes them forward to make them do better. Don't worry about your title. Anyone can give feedback. You don't have to be a human resource manager or a business professional. You can be an employee and just tell another employee how good they're doing. Negative feedback is used when an employee does something poor or they're not doing their job correctly. This type is a little more difficult because you don't want to upset the person or make them mad. A lot of times business professionals give feedback when they're angry, and you really shouldn't ever do that because it can make you look very unprofessional and you might say things that can hurt the person. Always give it in a professional manner and let them know what's wrong and give them steps on how to fix it. Here's a couple ways to give negative feedback. You always want to have a private place. Don't ever give feedback over email or text because it can make the person feel unclear about what they're doing wrong, and they might have questions that you need to discuss. Face-to-face is just always better because it's more clear. You always want to focus on their actions, not the person. Be specific, timely, and calm. Staying calm during a negative feedback situation is very helpful. Reaffirm that you have faith in them. You need to give them advice on how to fix the problem and that you still have confidence that they can do better. Let them talk. You always want to hear back if they have questions or if they are not understanding the problem. I already said define positive steps. You always need to tell them what they need to do to better themselves. And always make sure to outline what they've already done that was good. You don't always have to dwell on the negative. Give them a few positive things to boost them up. After you've given the negative feedback, you need to move on. Don't just ponder on the situation. They need to set goals for themselves, and you need to watch them and see if they're improving. And like I said earlier, don't give feedback out of anger, because it can just end badly for everybody. This is a portion on how to receive feedback. A lot of the times you're also receiving it and giving feedback as a human resource professional. You always want to control your defensiveness. Don't get mad about the feedback that they're trying to give you. Always listen. Listen and understand where they're coming from and why that they're saying that to you. Always suspend your judgment and summarize and reflect what you hear. You always want to listen to the other person and what they have to say, and make sure that they're understanding exactly what you're saying. Always ask questions and give examples of what they're doing right or what they're doing wrong. And as you receive feedback, you always want to ask questions just so you're understanding exactly what they're saying to you. Always be approachable. Don't be the grumpy Gus that nobody can give feedback to because they're just going to freak out on you. Decide what to do with your feedback. You're the only one who can decide what you do, whether it's positive feedback or negative feedback. You're the only one that can improve on it or give up and go a different way. It's always up to you. This is a slide that just contains a video. It's got some information on how to give and receive positive feedback and a couple examples on a situation where an employee does something wrong and how a boss handles it, and then how they improved on it later. They remade the video, and it shows how it's done correctly. So it's pretty informational and a good video to watch. And this is feedback in human resources. Sometimes human resource professionals are faced with tough feedback or criticism to give to employees. It can be job related, or it can be a personal issue that's affecting others in the workplace. No matter the issue, it should be brought up and discussed professionally and on time in a timely manner. Employees look up to us as role models, and we need to set examples by performing to our best and taking feedback from them as well. This is a quote that I found on one of the websites that I was researching. It says, "Things that hurt, instruct." Obviously, sometimes negative feedback might hurt a little bit, but you need to take it and continue on with what you're doing. You need to make the best of it. So I thought that was just a fun quote. And that's the end of my PowerPoint. I'd like to kind of explain a little bit of the rest of my training outline. I had the video in it already. The role playing, I want to have 2 different groups, and I have a few different situations on a piece of paper that they would go through, and they would practice giving and receiving the feedback. There's a couple positive feedback situations and a couple negative feedback situations. Some of them are a little more awkward than others, but I think that they can help us all in giving and receiving feedback. The next one is to have a big group discussion and ask questions. I have about 10 to 15 minutes for setting goals. It's always good to have goals when you're having a job or doing classes. You always need to have goals for yourself. So I have the people in my training session set goals. And the last part is a questionnaire just to see how my training session was, if it helped them out, any feedback that I can have to make my training session better. Thank you for listening to my training session, and I hope you liked it.